Hello, dear friends. This is Kardec Radio at 11 p.m. with you, nourishing all of our souls with the teachings of Spiritism. As we are studying the book Evolution into Worlds, what a joy! We're studying the book that was psychographed by Chico Xavier and Valdo Vieira in 1958. Mark it down, 60 years ago. The book comes to us in English, available now, so we can cherish studying it. But what is this book all about, right? This book, says the very spirit author, is an invitation for all of us so we can study our multi-millenary pilgrimage, ignite the fire of our hope as we keep ascending to God. What a joy, isn't it? These teachings, they don't come for mere knowledge. They come to open our hearts, to make us feel better about ourselves, to keep on marching and never give up. Never give up. Andre Luiz clearly states to us that we're constantly being cared for by the loving spirits, that we have been working for so many lives, and it's part of life to make effort and repeat the lessons until we have learned it. It's part of life. But what a joy! What a joy to know that we always progress, never regress, and that the mistakes that we make are just signs that we need to try new ways and keep focusing on the goal, progressing always, because you and I are co-creators. Oh, but Vanessa, I think I'm useless. Well, even the worm, even the worm in the soil is so useful. None of us were created useless. And when we say that, we're doubting that God has a plan for us. So let us revisit our relationship with God. Shall we, friends? I see beautiful friends coming in. And today we're studying chapter 9. Chapter 9 of the book Evolution into Worlds in part 2, because the book has two parts. Chapter 9 is about separation of spiritual spouses. Remember, yesterday we were studying about marriage and divorce. I agree. It's not simple. We could create a focus group to study together about marriage and divorce and prepare ourselves better for it, right? Exactly. But the beauty of it all is that André Luiz, in that chapter, tells us that marriage is for growth. Marriage is not for fairy tales. Mm-mm. Even Disney doesn't believe in that anymore. Why should we, right? Marriage is a partnership, sacred partnership. But what if we are not looking at the same direction? Should we facilitate? He says no, but on the same token, if both decided to go their different ways, it's not a crime. Yes, I agree with you. There is a fine balance line. So let us keep studying this, reading the several books that was recommended so we can feel better what the teachings are telling us, okay? Today we're studying chapter 9, which is super short but very interesting. He talks about the cases of spiritual spouses. What is spiritual spouse? What is it? Well, they are talking about spirits who have so much affinity that they feel like they are together in their partnership beyond an incarnation. That's the case of Livia and Emmanuel. Mhm. In the book 2000 Years Ago, you're going to read it. Livia and Emmanuel. We all know that Livia and Emmanuel had, you know, they are like spiritual spouses. But are they always together, everywhere? Aha. And that's the beauty of the chapter we're going to read, because it is a true invitation to new experiences. Are you ready? I think we are now. Welcome, welcome, dear friends. Let us rejoice with Andrea Luiz' explanation. Separation of Spiritual Spouses, Chapter 9, Part 2, in the book Evolution into World. Andrea Luiz begins by asking a question. Does the separation of spiritual spouses occur? Bottom line, people have this myth that when we are together, we're never apart. Well, he begins by saying, it is possible, that's what he says, it is possible that superior authorities choose one of the spouses for a particular service amongst humanity, considering the special qualities of the spouse who will fulfill terrestrial tasks. What does he mean? What does he mean? Right? And let me show here something that our dear Melissa is kindly sharing with us. She's saying that she's enjoying very much reading this book exactly 2000 years ago. Thank you so much, Melissa, for sharing it and reminding everyone that that's a book not to miss. If you want to give a good gift to somebody, that's a good gift. So, Andrea Luiz tells us that this couple, the couple, that feels like they are committed to progressing together. Well, superior authorities may recruit so they can do different services. Sometimes one is going to reincarnate while the other is going to be on the other side or even in higher spheres. Exactly. And even though they may be discarnated, they may be having different tasks. I'll give an example. According to Chico Xavier, Emmanuel, his spirit mentor, was constantly here, taking care of his protege, and I say quote unquote protege. But there was one day of the week in which Emmanuel was given an opportunity to refresh himself and meet Livia in a superior sphere. While refreshing himself once a week, he could go have a date with her, and I say sublime date, and come back. So Livia in charge of another task, Emmanuel of another, but both still aiming at the same goal together. Make sense? Okay. Then Andrea Luiz continues by telling us the following. After a fortunate internship in the superior sphere, this or that spouse needs to return to the carnal circles for difficult experiences in the redemption of specific commitments. So, even though they are together, they go prepare themselves and they have to reincarnate, and sometimes they don't reincarnate together. So, this is so beautiful because sometimes people ask, oh my gosh, I'm looking for my loved one, And I get married, and that's not the person. I get married again. It's like I know that person exists. You bet. You're not crazy. Yes, you're right. But who knows you're gonna find in this reincarnation? Oh no, I'm telling you, this reincarnation is so short. In Jupiter, a lifetime lasts 4 to 500 years in an incarnation because it's a more evolved planet. Read about it in the Spiritist magazine, spiritismagazine.org. Go to the website or the app, read it for free. The cover page, I don't remember the issue, but the cover page has Mozart on it because it's the very Mozart that comes to tell us about his internship in Jupiter after that life as Mozart. So for us, one reincarnation on earth may be a reincarnation without that spiritual spouse, if we have one. And you're going to see that there are people who are missionaries, and they live a whole lifetime by themselves, and their spiritual spouse is not even incarnated. Okay? Sunshine is asking, but they be married to other people too? You mean when they're incarnated? Well, I don't think, Sunshine, there is a prohibition because marriage is beyond what people think, that myth of a fairy tale. Marriage is for growth. Sometimes we need to expiate, redeem ourselves, help others, even sacrificing ourselves. And marriage may be part of it. I'll tell you guys a story that I read. It's by Umberto de Campos. You remember, right? The author of the book Good News. Umberto de Campos explains to us that one day Jesus and Peter were passing by. They needed directions. So they saw a man. They approached the man and asked the very man, "Do you know where this is?" For a specific location. This man was so rough. He was like, who are you? You're just beggars. I'm not going to answer to you. Shoo away. Okay. Peter was enraged. He didn't do anything. Then they stopped and asked a woman, a young woman, for directions. She was carrying something on her head. She put it down and kindly started explaining it. Okay? So beautiful. Explaining about things and telling them the directions. At the end of the conversation, Peter was enchanted. And then, as Jesus and Peter kept on walking, says Umberto de Campos, Peter turned to Jesus and said, "It's amazing the difference. That man is so rough, and that woman so gentle and caring. So before God, Master," he asked, "what's going to happen to that man if he keeps on doing this way?" And you know the answer of Jesus? Don't be shocked, especially if you're feminist. But Jesus replied that the gift of that woman will be to get married to that man in honor to educate that rough man. Jesus' words. I know, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. But I was talking to a friend today at our center in the Spirit side of Virginia, And he was even saying that in Judaic studies, many of them understand, especially the Kabbalah, how women may be more evolved in their sensitivity. We all know it. But for us, marriage may be an opportunity to be a helping hand. And that may be a mission in itself. Food for thought, right? Right? So there is a possibility, depending on what it is, not necessarily they will be married. If they do to somebody that is not their spiritual spouse, it may be somebody who is a loving friend. And I'll give an example based on Chico Xavier's mother and stepmother. According to what we know, Jesus' mother and stepmother are good friends. So the stepmother was recruited by the higher spirits and the mother as well to be in that position, the missionary position of being the stepmother of Chico Xavier and the other kids. So you see the beauty of it all, marriage being much more than what people imagine, fulfillment of our needs. Marriage is about giving. It changes the game. I hope it makes sense, sunshine. And thank you, Leia Severo, as our Teresa Castro is saying. Thank you. You're really our librarian. So the issue of the Spiritist magazine is number 16. Thank you, Leia. Thank you. What a beautiful teamwork effort here, huh? We cannot do things alone. It's the beautiful effort, a group effort. So here we are. Let's go back. So, as it says here, the spouse needs to return for difficult experiences of redemption sometimes. It may be in a difficult marriage. So that one is not our spiritual spouse. But there's something we still need to do here. Food for thought. Teresa Castro says, but I thought the stepmom was abusive. No, it was the godmother that was abusive. Thank you for asking, Teresa. When the mom died, it was for between the mom and the next spouse, the stepmother, right? That married his father again. He stayed with his godmother, and she was the one that was abusive. Okay? So, what else happens here? Let's find out. Both modalities of separation are comprehensible and just. So what modalities is he saying? The one in which they are recruited to do an internship in higher spheres and have to be apart, like Livia and Emmanuel. She ascends, he stays, or like in the cases of separation, like reincarnating, while the other one stays. So they are separated temporarily. And André Luiz continues, and in both of them, the partner in condition of superiority, at least circumstantially, prays with success for the possibility of supporting the object of their veneration and affection. This is precisely the case of Livia and Emmanuel. Okay? And I can give you another case as well. Read the book Nosso Lar. André Luiz's mother herself, André Luiz's mother, remember? She is in a higher sphere. Where is her former spouse? I'm not saying they're spiritual spouses, but we need to understand that movement of renunciation for the benefit of others. So she's in a higher sphere, And where is her former husband of that previous life, Andre Luiz' father? He's in the lower zones with some of the affairs that turn out to be some form of vampire spirits obsessors. And what does she say? I'm preparing myself to reincarnate and help them. I know. We dream, right? A dream. We dream a dream, la da da da. Yeah, we all dream that dream. But before the dream comes true, we need to help and help and help and do the good, do the good, do the good. We don't have credit yet to ask for an easy breezy life. No, no. Does that mean you're going to be sad? No. It means you're going to be happy. Happy. We're going to be happy, joyful, and no longer expecting what's not going to happen. Expectations may be very destructive. Hope is one thing, expectation is another. To be hopeful is to be certain that better things are ahead of us. But to expect involves, in some way and form, it's like as if we are demanding from life something that we cannot demand. But because we are not creditors in life, we're still debtors. And I'm not putting anybody down, but saying we're still catching up. We're still catching up. So expectation can be changed for hope. Meanwhile, I change the way I see my husband or my wife, my daughter, my son, my friend, my this and my that. And I look at everybody with immortal eyes, not expecting anything. Don Miguel Ruiz, you know the Mexican physician? Yes, famous. One of his bestsellers, The Four Agreements. The Four Agreements, number four. And he says, stop expecting things. Change it. Because it's going to change our lives. So let us put a stop on expectations. And let us keep hoping while changing the way we see people. Shall we? I know Melissa, Don Miguel Ruiz is a missionary. So beautiful to see so many with under different labels being brought up to cheer up humanity and lead humanity to the next stage, right? The four agreements. We need to practice substituting expectations for hope. Hope is visualizing the good. Expectation, we're demanding the good. That's not good. We cannot demand. We cannot be waiting like, when is that going to happen? Instead of like, I know it's going to happen one day. Meanwhile, I do my best and I work and I demand for myself, saying, come on, I can do better. I know because I'm a child of God. Like the seed that has the full potential of becoming a tree. We're talking about Christmas trees during this month, putting up a tree. Put up a tree, come on. Enjoy it. Enjoy the coming out of Christ. Because life changed on the earth when Jesus came. Life was so sad until he came. The day he came, joy to the world, the Lord has come. Okay? So when we see the tree, the pine tree, and we look at the seed, we're not mad at the seed because the seed is not the pine tree yet. We take care of it, we love it, and we hope one day it's gonna turn out a pine tree. Meanwhile, we dream of that pine tree and care for this sprouting tree that is so fragile, that needs so much love and care. And then one day, it's gonna be our Christmas tree, right? So this is us, looking at ourselves and people. Now, the beauty of it all, says Andrea Luiz, he says, that these spiritual spouses are going to support the other one, even though they may not be in the same plane. For a while, they'll be helping. That's beautiful. And at the end of it all, he tells us almost always this will happen in the position of reincarnated beings and in the regimen of complete renunciation, like the book Renunciation. When Alcyone, she models for us what it is really to renounce. Sometimes renouncing is not to be with the person whom we love. Support them, but not really be under their jurisdiction, marriage. Yeah, like she did. She loved Carlos, but didn't stay with him as a wife because he was not ready. Read this book to understand precisely what our dear Emmanuel is talking about. It's a tough one, I agree. To renounce at that level like her, I remember reading the book several times, listening to it. And I remember when, as young as they were, Alcione and Carlos, and the two people who were caring for them, they all got together and the idea of marriage came up. And we were like, come on, Alcione, get married to him. And she says, no, no, no. But Carlos, come on. You're committed to Christ. You're preparing, you're in the seminary. You're preparing yourself to be a priest. Your commitment is with Christ. And then we are like, oh my gosh, Alcione, come on. That's not what it means. But then later in the book, we understand why the renunciation. So it's good to read this book as well because it trains us on what renunciation feels like. Because at some point, from now to immortality, possibly we're going to be experiencing this. Like Alcione. Are we ready? I don't know. But Emmanuel is coaching us when he wrote that book. Okay? Sunshine is asking, can we have many different spiritual marriages? I that's a I'll think about this. But as far as the concept of Andrea Luiz, as I understand, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so. Well, in the lower zones, sincerely, there are lots of marriages. Crazy things. Okay? It happens. Dark zones, the lower zones. But we're talking about spiritual spouses at higher levels, like Andrea Luiz is saying. I don't think so. I think when we reach that level, we are already at another level of understanding, like Livia and Emmanuel. Livia and Emmanuel bring to us even the understanding of what we say twin souls, right, or soulmates. And Emmanuel is going to discuss that issue in several books, but especially in a book that is not yet in English named O Consolador, The Consoler. in which he addresses this issue of soulmates, twin souls, etc. We're not going to discuss here because it's the topic for another day, but we want to tease you if you want to read about it. That book, O Consolador, has a specific question and answer regarding this. And I think at that level, we no longer switch. Incarnated, it's a possibility, like we said yesterday, different marriages. But in the spiritual spouses, as he's saying here, it's a higher level. I don't think they're going to change it. Okay? Sunshine, Melissa is saying, all Emmanuel's novels have so much emotion. I've learned a lot with them. Renunciation is a really special book. Exactly. And Melissa, Emmanuel wrote these books for several reasons, as he says in the prefaces. But the main reason is to coach us to new behavioral patterns, to self-awareness, emotional and spiritual, higher emotional and spiritual intelligence. Okay? So neuroscience proves to us that when we read novels, it can change our neurobiology, our neural pathways. So let us dedicate ourselves to reading this, because these books by Emmanuel and André Luiz, they are certainly a push for us. They're like push-ups for the soul. Shh, you grow and expand in muscles of the soul. New understanding, expansion of our view. Okay? Can you believe this is it for today? There's no more than that. Fascinating, huh? So we would recommend these books, Renunciation, 2000 Years Ago. Also the book, 50 Years Later, talks about another couple, Cereal and Celia. Celia and Cereal. And you're going to see how they love each other and how they are separated and reunited, separated and reunited, separated and reunited several times in a short period of time. Okay, that's another book that will tease us in that regard. Another one is Paul and Stephen, Abigail and Saul, Paul, right? Abigail, and you see there the spiritual spouses. As Paul continues, Abigail discarnated continue supporting her loved one. Isn't that beautiful? I think so too. Thank you, Rudy. Thank you, friends. So we pray that we learn. I forgot one thing to say. Don't go away, please. What is the lesson besides changing our expectations, reading of them, transforming them, transmuting for hope? It's about detachment. This chapter is an invitation for the sublimation of our feelings. Detachment. How detached are you regarding your loved ones? Are you ready to let them experience what they need to experience, though still loving them and staying connected? That's a question for us, an exercise for the next 24 hours. For now, a big hug of gratitude. Much love. And until tomorrow, God willing, friends.